Man, when's Yuji Sakai going to sculpt a screen-accurate Godzilla 2000?
ShinRobjira.
Today we're going to be talking about the Banpresto Godzilla 2000 Millennium DX figure green version, aka second release, based on the original Godzilla 2000 design by Yuji Sakai, and wouldn't you know it, this lovely figure was also sculpted by Yuji My Design Better Sakai. And for anybody interested, I actually did get this in its original packaging. I have the tag to prove it. We'll show that again in a second. And I would like to thank Corey and the other half of Daft Punk, Mr. Pistachio, for hooking me up with this thing. Thank you both so very much. And yes, Mr. Pistachio is one half of Daft Punk. I talk to him all the time. He's French. Right off the bat, just look at him. He's so green and shiny and based. This thing is like an ocean for detail because no matter where you look, I mean, the bumps, the grooves, the scarred up skin, it's just, To get the boring stuff out of the way first, we've got yellow toenails, yellow claws again, yellow toes again, yellow teeth, vibrant red tongue, some lovely painted eyes, which from the front are very, very wonky. But oh man, look at that detail. Love it. And now we can see the real interesting stuff. The dorsal fins, which I'm going to talk about for 12 minutes and 35 seconds. Okay, maybe not 12 minutes and 35 seconds, but the dorsal fins are fantastic. I mean, even these tiny, tiny ones over here are just totally done up with some beautiful paint applications and are outfitted even further with some fantastical paint. Hilariously, some only on one side, but for the most part they are painted on both sides, and just look at that, man! One of my absolute favorite talking points about this design is always going to be the dorsal fins. They're just so different from Godzilla designs that came before him, and even after him. Thankfully, if you could believe it or not, the dorsal fins only get all the better looking once we get to Goji's back. Big Godzilla 2000 means big jaggedy dorsal fins with lots of fantastic details and paints, and just look at that, oh my god, I love it. Some definitely have a little bit more silver than purple than I would have really liked, but man, oh man, I don't care. I don't give a fisherman's fuck about the imbalance of purple and silver to my own personal likings. This is truly just a masterpiece, a true death metal forest of death metal trees of nuclear power. I can't get enough of it. Honestly, half the time I spend looking at this figure is him either turned to the side or back to the camera, so I can just look at this absolute mastery, because fuck. And each and every single dorsal fin, as far as my eye can see, will be painted on both sides, which is very, very nice. Even the smaller ones across the sides over here are going to have the double build painting, and I'm very, very happy about that. And the more I look at this thing, the happier I am that I have it, but the sadder I am that I really don't have any place to display it. You can't see these shelves behind me, but most of them, they're full. I had to rebox most of my NECA figures because I had to make more room for the Bandai stuff. And that room is literally maybe like about that much. And all that's going to change by the end of the year because all these new movie Monster Series figures are... I just really, really love the look and feel of this figure's overall detail. The skin is... ooh, it's something else. Since Godzilla's skin has usually been based off of scarring and everything, it's always brought a different shade to Godzilla figures as a whole. To a point where, yes, even the cheaper figures do end up looking pretty dang good because you're always going to get something. God help us the day that we get a baby smooth Godzilla figure and design. And no, I'm not talking about Mania. I'm talking about fully grown adult Godzilla, smooth as a dolphin. Let's never do that, please. Actually, let's do that and see how I feel about it in 3 months.
What have I done?
Gnarly knuckles, knobby elbows, and spiky shoulder blades. Not to mention the very beginnings of that very cobra-looking neck. This thing is beautiful. So beautiful. I'd like more. Sure, I get on Yuji Sakai's case ever so often about only being able to quote-unquote sculpt his design of the 99 Godzilla, but I'm not going to sit here and lie and tell you that I don't like it. Ah, shit on me. Because I absolutely do like it. The different head shape, the somewhat different body, the webbed toes over here. It's a cool alternate design. It's just sometimes I do wish I had a screen-accurate Godzilla 2000 of this size. So now I guess it's time for a bit of history. Yes, this guy came with this very tag right here, as we can see, Godzilla 2001 over here, Banpresto, Godzilla, a bunch of stuff, DX. And we got some stuff on the back, which I've read are instructions, but it's pretty self-explanatory. This is a figure that you put together. It's all hollow vinyl parts. It's very nice. The original version of this figure wasn't actually green, it was black, and that's known as the first release, or the black version, which is a lot harder to find than this version right here. And both of these figures can be sometimes rather hard to find, especially in their original packaging, because these were prize figures. I do believe they were lottery draw-in prizes, so they were limited to begin with. And yet, I've seen this figure all across my online travels for years now. Never thought I'd actually own one. Thank you, Corey and Pistachio. And it just feels kind of weird to finally have this since I've seen it so many times online. And I've seen it for a lot worse prices than what it's technically going for now. A couple $100 here and there, which ain't too bad considering, well, look at how big this thing is. I mean, even with the tail, look at this. That's a big friggin' lizard. And since I have him in hand, I am going to give him a solid star in terms of paint and a solid star in terms of detail because, yes, we'll just stick with that yes. Now, this guy really doesn't have too much else going on for him, but there are some movable bits on him which we will cover right now. The head is a bit on the squishy side, so it can move from left to right to a certain extent. From the front, there you go. I mean, realistically though, it can go all the way around. You just really need to be careful. Don't want to tear any of the vinyl here, but it's pretty easy to take off, and it's just as easy to put back on, right, Goji? There we go. You will be able to move the arms in and out, like so. Not too far, nothing too crazy, but just enough. And the same can be done on the opposite side as well. I did try moving this leg around a bit since everything below the kneecap was a separate piece, but as you can see, yeah, not pushing it. And I'm not going to lie, even attempting articulation at the tail gives me a bit of agita, and I really don't want to continue on trying, so I'm going to stop here and just leave it at the head and the arms. For a figure so big, head and the arms, I'll take it. Solid star. Now we can discuss the one problem I have with this release. Lord help me, did I try finding ways to fix this. So as you can see over here, this leg really doesn't sit very flushly. In fact, yeah, that kind of happens. So right out of the packaging, this was the only piece, save for the head, that was squishy like that. I have a good feeling the original owner of this piece probably had this thing out in the sun since this was right at the front of the packaging. And yeah, it stayed squishy. I literally left this thing in the freezer for an hour. I've not been able to solidify this thing up in any way, shape, or form. Now, thankfully, the thing can go back on the figure, and the figure can support its weight with this thing attached. It's just that little gap in the thigh right there, it's just going to bother me until it doesn't. Granted, from certain angles, it really isn't all that noticeable, and I'm glad it's in an area that's mostly covered up by the arms, and thankfully no other part of the leg really bends or creases inwards. It's just from the front where it's going to look a little squishad. But let me ask you an honest question. Before I said anything about the leg, did you even notice it? I'm sure some did, but, you know, most of you probably not, right? So there we go. Issues and then some aside, the Banpresto Godzilla 2000 Millennium DX figure is huge in size, huge in detail, very lovingly painted. I really can't have any complaints with this because, I mean, at the end of the day, he does stand. There is some minimal articulation, and it's just a beautiful piece. And for those of you who are fans of the alternate Yuji Sakai design, or just fans of Godzilla 2000 in general, you probably already have this, and if you don't, I would actually suggest getting it, because, wow, it commands crazy amounts of shelf presence, especially with that big-ass tail. The colors are nice and vibrant, as they should be. And what else is there to say? It's a Banpresto X Plus figure that you have to put together and everything. I mean, come on. Make no mistake, I love this thing so very much, and again, I am so thankful to Corey and Mr. Pistachio for this long-wanted addition to my collection. And maybe one day Yuji Sakai will get over it. I have been ShinRobjira. I do so hope you enjoyed this review. He's just fallen. Okay, there we go. And when next we meet, I have no idea. Recording this very far in advance. Hi, patrons. Now, if you'd like to be one of those lucky patrons who get to see this a hell of a lot earlier than the public, you can pay me $1 a month and you'll get access to this, other videos rather early, photo sets, and you'll be able to vote on what I talk about next. I'm not going to reveal that quite yet, though. We're doing some extra turny-wornies before we get back to Necathon. And did I just say turny-worny? Jesus Christ. Have yourselves a lovely day, afternoon, night, weekend, weekday, whatever, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.